Hey everyone, it's Gerald back at it again with another video. In this video, I'm going to go over Novo Nordisk, ticker symbol NVO here. I have Novo Nordisk on the monthly time frame just to give an idea of what's been going on for this company here. We're back at levels since 2021 here. The stock was once trading at 147, 148. Now with a steep decline towards $37, $38 here after hours here on March 1st, with the whole escalation that's been going on with the United States and Iran, the stock is over 75% down and quickly approaching the 200 simple moving average. As of this recording, the 200 simple moving average on the monthly time frame is sitting around 36.74. So a whole reversion all the way back into that 200 simple moving average, and what is likely a level of huge institutional support for this stock here. I have here highlighted the RSI divergence that's been occurring for the stock here. The RSI, of course, is on the upside. Price action for the company has been trending downwards, right? So that's the divergence that's coming up to play for the monthly time frame. Of course, there's an RSI divergence that's printing for the daily time frame as well here. Of course, we do need these to play out. Stock hasn't inflected towards the upside, and it looks like once again, after 9 consecutive red trading days, we are sort of trending or likely heading for its 10th red trading day. Like I said, after the whole escalation of war that's been happening this past weekend here. Right. So right now, on the daily time frame, we are at a staggering 23.92 daily RSI here. So very, very oversold on the daily time frame. We're sitting at a crucial level of support, but it looks like that level of support is likely going to hold around this 36.74 level here. Of course, we'll have to see, and we'll have to see how the price action sort of unfolds for the next couple of trading days to see this crucial level of support and buyers essentially step in from this area here. But it looks like it's setting up for a monster move for the stock here. I'm going to touch onto the company's fundamentals here. It looks like the stock now is trading at a PE ratio of 10.28, right? So once a high growth, high multiple company trading at multiples over 20, 30 PE now has contracted all the way to 10, essentially. And the market's essentially not pricing any growth for this company now, right? Of course, we are in a phase transitioning from high growth phase to a much more mature price competitive era here. The company just lowered its guidance. They projected sales and profit declines for 2026, and they forecasted a 5 to 13% drop in its profits for 2026 here. The question remains, is that overblown for Novo Nordisk stock here after, like I said, after about a 75% decline in the stock here? Other cons for this company here are its most recent clinical trial setback with CagriSema in its head-to-head trial with Eli Lilly's Zepbound, right? So it showed that Eli Lilly's Zepbound actually was more efficacious than CagriSema, but of course, Eli Lilly's Zepbound had a much higher active ingredient, right? Of course, you have a higher active ingredient, it's likely you're going to have more efficaciousness, right? But ultimately, it showed that a lot of people in that trial utilizing Zepbound with its higher dosage was also more intolerant for a lot of people that undertook the trial here. In my opinion, it's in a situation where CagriSema displayed moderate efficaciousness in terms of weight loss, it's very likely that doctors and providers are still going to be prescribing CagriSema or Novo Nordisk's drugs, in the fact that, hey, you're going to have less side effects, but it actually achieves your desired result of weight loss here. Other cons for this company are its massive price cuts, right? To ultimately defend its shrinking market share against its competitors, right? So Novo is slashing prices by up to 50% to ultimately keep their spot in the pharmacies here, right? Of course, this company is also very highly concentrated in terms of one molecule, which is the semaglutide. So they do not really have a plan B as of now, right? There's not a lot of diversification for Novo Nordisk, but it ultimately is in a ever increasing market, huge market share, and they are essentially a duopoly. There's essentially Novo Nordisk and Eli Lilly's medication here. That's pretty much overtaking the whole obesity treatment landscape here. In terms of the opportunities for the stock here, they are switching from injections to more daily pills, right? So ultimately, they are essentially have the capability of doubling the total number of patients. So higher volume, lower margin for this, right? But there's a lot of people who are very averse to injections. So by having a daily pill and having Wegovy is going to be a huge opportunity for the stock here. And I think as of most recently, after for 1 month, crossed over 500,000 prescriptions here. There's also expanding to global markets, right? So emerging markets like India and Brazil are going to offer a lot of potentially huge untapped potential new customers here. They're also trialing higher dose formulation to ultimately close in the efficacy gap with competitors such as Eli Lilly here. So they essentially have the ability to reclaim that title for being that most effective weight loss drug. But nonetheless, it really doesn't matter. They're showing efficaciousness at a lower level of dose while also being a safer option, right? So that's going to be a medication that a lot of providers and healthcare providers are going to be prescribing for their patients who are more health conscious here. They also have a massive cash reserve. So ultimately they have the funds, all the profits that they've pretty much attained to pretty much acquire smaller biotech companies. So whatever new market leading medication or any breakthroughs that can happen with these smaller biotechs, they could essentially just buy them and acquire these companies as well here. So looking at the intrinsic value, the stock is still as with a large margin of safety. We have an intrinsic value of 78.61. So potential undervaluation by over 50%. On a DCF valuation, it's sitting at 57.28, so still a large margin of safety here for the company here. Wall Street thinks the same thing. Average price target sitting around 60% upside from where we're currently at, and even the lowest price target sitting around $46, which is still offering over 20% upside, right? We have 4 buys, 3 holds, 1 sells here. Hedge funds, looking at what hedge funds have been doing for this company here, we have a lot of notable investors here, right? We have, of course, I'm going to go into the latest activity to see the more bullish super investors. And of course, we have Israel Englander, who massively increased his position. He has an average buy price of about 51.27. So he's down under by over 27% for the stock here and holds about 80 million in the stock here. Ken Griffin has a $377 million stake, increased significantly as well by 136%, and his average is around 53.71 as well. We also have Jim Simons, of course, with about a 10% increase, has over 161 or 162 million position. He's up about 38%, and his average buy price is sitting around $27 for the stock here. Looking at the company's revenue growth, it's sitting at about 4%, right? 4% for a company trading from PE ratios of about 50 plus to now trading at only a measly 10 PE. Very likely it's justified for the company here. And of course, they're instituting share buybacks for Novo Nordisk stock here. I am going to pull up the Bollinger Bands for this company as well. Looks like we're sitting at this lower edge of this Bollinger Band on the daily time frame here. The Bollinger Band sitting roughly around 34.76, which is somewhat all going to essentially align at one singular point at the monthly 200 simple moving average for the stock here. So that is my overview of Novo Nordisk stock heading up into this trading week here. I expect shorter term downside for the stock here towards that 200 simple moving average and a potential support around this area as we are completely oversold, 10 plus red trading days in a row. We'll see how this unfolds and see how this RSI divergence potentially play out as we seek support roughly around these areas here. Of course, this is a very fluid situation with the whole issue that's been going on with Iran. But of course, this is a healthcare company. In my opinion, it's more of a safe haven. It's not a consumer stock. Of course, fear in the market is going to spark selling in the overall equities. But I'm very comfortable with my position with Novo Nordisk stock here. For a disclaimer, I do hold shares and I am selling option positions into Novo Nordisk stock here. Take that as it will. As always, do your own due diligence and happy trading, everyone. Take care.